Hello YouTubers, this is yet another project for me. This is my Bedford CF250 campervan. I've had it for quite a while, but it only had a 4-speed gearbox and the one reverse gear was playing up. So what I've done, I've bought a diesel engine off a similar vehicle, a Volkswagen towing truck with a 5-speed gearbox, and I was intending on putting the whole lot in here. But thinking about it now, what I'm decided to do is fix the 5-speed gearbox to the petrol engine, the slant petrol engine, because it's only done 70,000 miles, the petrol engine. So when I first started this process, I've took the gearbox out already. I had assumed that this 5-speed gearbox off the diesel engine would go straight in, but it won't. You need a different bell housing. So during this next couple of series of videos showing you doing this, I will show you how I take the gearbox out, how I've made a new drive shaft for it, and then how I put the gearbox back in. I haven't actually put it in yet, so when you see the next segment on this video, I'll show you the differences between the new bell housings that you need to fit a 5-speed diesel gearbox to a petrol slant engine. You need a new bell housing, and if you think you're going to do it without buying a special bell housing, not a hope. So the next segment you'll see is me going through the gearboxes and the various bell housings, okay? Right, this is just an explanation of what the various parts are and how we're going to deal with them. So this part here is the original 4-speed gearbox. As you can see, it's totally different, and it's got a smaller drive shaft here. This is the 5-speed gearbox of the diesel engine that I want to fit onto that petrol engine. Now, if you notice, this is the original bell housing of the petrol engine that was attached to this original 4-speed gearbox. And if you look at it, you'll notice that the starter motor and the bell housing is in a different place to the diesel one. So you can't really fit it on. That is a problem I come up against. So what we need to do is to get this fitted to fit on that gearbox. Well, the holes are all different in there for a start with, and it's an impossible job. You will never do it, it's impossible. You want the fitting like that on the 5-speed gearbox, which is 6 holes like you can see on there. So I have managed to find one. I have got a special one. Now this is quite a rare thing, but it's got the 5-speed gearbox fitting there. It's got the starter motor on that side, and all the things are the same as the original petrol engine. So if you intend on doing this job, you need to get this first before even thinking about it, because you will not do it and you won't be able to fix that one up to work. So this is a point I need to make very clear. If you want to put a 5-speed diesel gearbox in a Bedford CF van with the original petrol engine in it, the slant petrol engine, you need to get a special bell housing like that will take the 5-speed gearbox and still fit onto the petrol engine. Don't bother starting it unless you have that, okay? It's pointless. Also, you need another clutch arm as well, because the clutch arm is slightly different. Now, I was lucky enough, I found a place on eBay, and this lady was very helpful and she helped me out on that. So that's that. As you can see from the 5-speed gearbox, it's slightly larger, and where the gear lever goes in, that is the original place where the gear lever went. So it was about 6 to 8 inches offset to the left. This gearbox is straight above the shaft, so it's right in the middle. Now, on on the vehicle itself, that is actually better because the gear lever was way too much over to the one side, so that's going to be fine. It's a little bit higher as well, but I think that'll be okay, but we'll just have to see what happens when I try to fit it in. The front shaft here is exactly the same, except for the end of it will need to be cut down similar to that. So I think it's called the spigot on the end. The spigot on the end of this one is about an inch long, and the one on the original is about half an inch long, roughly. So all you need to do is you need to cut that down with a grinder and grind it to the same profile, and that will fit straight on. Where you've attached the gearbox is a subframe underneath with the original, what you bolted up against the original gearbox. Now this gearbox is obviously a heavier, stronger thing. It's got the subframe in a slightly different place, so we'll have to either adjust the subframe by making another plate to go on it, or we'll just have to play that one by ear as we're going, but I'll show you that. And at the back of it, this diesel engine gearbox has a large prop shaft, like that. So that's a lot bigger. Now this is a finished job. I've actually made another prop shaft myself, and I've done that already, and I'll show you. But you can see the difference in the original prop shaft. Mine is twice as thick and larger there. So what I intend to do is, that fits over, and then that'll slide over the prop shaft on the vehicle most of the way up, drill a few holes through, and then we'll weld it round there. So that'll be rock solid, and this is dead straight, so that should be okay, but you'll see that in the next bit. So I hope you enjoy the next process. It'll take me a while, like I said, because my eyesight isn't up to much at the moment, and I'm just bumbling around, to be honest. So I did that prop shaft about 3 weeks ago, before I had the operation. So hopefully, as we get on into this, we'll show you a bit more and show you how to go about it, because it'll make a hell of a difference having an extra 5-speed gearbox, 5-speed, because the 4-speed in it was so slow. He was travelling at about 55 or 60 mile an hour, and it was revving the guts out, which is not good. So this should save on fuel economy and be nicer to drive. This is just a close-up of the original bell housing, if you'll see. It's got a different fitting on to the original, to the 5-speed gearbox. So that is the original gearbox. That is a 5-speed, and there's quite a big difference there if you look down here. I better pull it out a minute. It's a lot different, and it's just completely, it's impossible to do. So that's the one I bought, which will do the job. As you can see, that bit there for the 5-speed gearbox will fit straight on, bolt on, and this will bolt straight onto the petrol engine. Now just looking from the side now, that is looking at the diesel gearbox from the side, the 5-speed one. It's more of a chunky thing, it's a lot larger, and like I told you there, the spigot there is about half an inch longer than the spigot where I got my finger at now, you see. So that just needs cutting back. It's quite simple really. Good bit higher. Like I said, the drive shaft is different to that one. It's a lot smaller, spindly thing. So the gearbox is also going to be hanging down a bit more. So this is a subframe that was originally fastened to the gearbox, and if you can see over there, that's the one that, it's not far off, but I can see me having a bit of a problem with that. So this is the
drive shaft that I made. A close up here, where it is. Here. I cut that off the 5-speed gearbox originally. I slashed that off, then I inserted this, and I'll show you the process where I shimmed that all out so it was dead level and straight, and before welding it up. Here is the original shaft there, look. That's the spigot, I think you call it there. That's what we need to be at. I've just measured it with a caliper and cut this one off here. So it's now exactly 10mm shorter, and the only difference is this one here had a hole in the end. A small little drill hole in the end. I might do that yet, I don't think it needs it. So there's that, that's ready to go on now. And we're going to fix that bell housing onto this 5-speed gearbox and get a bit of a step closer then, hopefully. So I'm missing one nut though. Always lose one nut, don't you? Right, this bell housing is on here now. It's just been put on with them bolts. I put the new thrust bearing on there, and this other clutch leg, or whatever you call the bloody thing, that came with it. This was the old one, which came in from a different side. Okay. So remember, you'll need that with it. So I'll just take this off the top there now, and I've also cut that off and rounded that off, and we will see if it'll fit on in a minute. So it fits perfectly, yeah? Nothing at all wrong. So when you go to put it onto the vehicle now, onto the petrol slant engine, there's a little plate across the bottom there that needs putting on, but you can leave that off now. So I'll do another video. I might even do one now to show you before the gearbox goes on, to see what it's all like, okay? Right, this is the view from underneath. This is where that bell housing and the transmission are going to go on there now. If you can see that, with these Vauxhall vans, there's basically the engine is just below the left hand side of you, not really in the bonnet, just under the cab really, if you by there, you know. So it's set back and then you can lift this thing off the top. But we are going to try and see if we can get everything to fit on here now before long. So also remember I was telling you about the gearbox. The old one was on the left there. The new one will be over here where my finger is, and there's already a hole cut out for it, so that's not going to be a problem. And that is actually going to be better because it's going to be closer to the seat, so that should work well. If you were going to do this and swap over a diesel engine into a Bedford CF, there is another way of doing this. The guy told me that I bought the diesel engine off. When he did it, he bought the diesel engine and this axle unit comes out with the engine, so you don't have to make any engine motor or anything then. So you pull this whole unit off, including the brakes and everything, so then you upgrade the brakes and the suspension, and you just put the engine straight in then, and you've got uprated brakes as well. So that is the best, quickest way of doing it if you're going to do the engine. But I was going to just fabricate some new engine mounts, that's what I was going to do. But like I said, this engine, this petrol engine, has only done 70,000 miles, so it should be okay, hopefully.